Have you ever had a big idea that felt exciting, but also terrifying? Maybe it was a new product, a new app, a new business model, a new feature, a new service, a bold change inside your company. At first, everyone is energized. The whiteboard is full. The team is talking fast. The possibilities feel endless. Then reality arrives. Meetings multiply. Opinions collide. Deadlines slip. Nobody knows what to build first. The team debates for weeks. Someone asks for more research. Someone else wants a bigger plan. And months later, you finally launch something, only to discover customers do not really want it. That is the painful problem Sprint was designed to solve. Written by Jake Knapp, John Zeratsky, and Braden Kowitz from Google Ventures, Sprint gives teams a simple, intense 5-day process for answering big questions before wasting months of time and money. The core promise is powerful. Instead of debating forever, build a realistic prototype in 1 week and test it with real customers. Not someday. Not after 6 months of development. Not after everyone agrees in another meeting about the meeting. In 5 days. The Lazy Capybara version? Stop arguing about whether the coconut boat will float. Build a tiny coconut boat. Put it in the pond. Watch what happens. The big idea. Test the future before you build it. Most teams make decisions in slow and expensive ways. They spend weeks discussing ideas. They create detailed plans. They write long documents. They build real products. They launch publicly. Then they wait to see if users care. The problem is that by the time the team gets feedback, they have already invested too much. Too much money. Too much time. Too much ego. Too much internal politics. Too much attachment to the solution. The sprint flips that process. Instead of building the full thing first, you create a convincing prototype, something realistic enough for users to react to, and test it before committing major resources. This matters because people are bad at predicting what customers will do. Customers may say one thing in a survey and do another thing in real life. Teams may love an idea because it sounds clever internally. Executives may push for features based on assumptions. Designers may polish the wrong thing. Engineers may spend months building something nobody needs. A sprint cuts through the fog. In 1 week, you go from messy challenge to tested learning. You do not get perfect certainty, but you get something much better than opinion. Real reactions from real people. Why sprints matter. The authors built this method from their experience at Google and Google Ventures, where they helped many startups and teams test ideas quickly. A sprint is especially valuable when the stakes are high. Use a sprint when the project is important. The risk is high. The timeline is tight. The team is stuck. The decision feels unclear. The idea is expensive to build. There are too many opinions. You need customer feedback fast. A sprint is not for tiny improvements. If you are changing a button color or adjusting a small page detail, you probably do not need 5 people in a room for a week. But if you are making a major product decision, launching a new feature, testing a business model, redesigning a customer experience, or trying to break through a stalled project, the sprint is a powerful tool. It gives the team focus, speed, and structure. Without structure, teams often drift. With a sprint, every day has a purpose. The sprint mindset. Learn fast, before it gets expensive. One of the strongest ideas in the book is that failure is useful, if it happens early and cheaply. Many companies fear discovering that an idea is bad, but the real danger is discovering it too late. A failed sprint is not a disaster. A failed sprint can save you months of development, huge budgets, team energy, and public embarrassment. If 5 customers test your prototype and clearly do not understand it, do not want it, or do not value it, that is not wasted effort. That is valuable information. The team just avoided building the wrong thing. This is the beauty of the sprint. It gives you a safe little laboratory where ideas can survive, evolve, or quietly retire before they become expensive monsters. Very practical, very calm, very capybara, not jumping into the river before checking the water. Sprint versus MVP. Why a prototype can be faster. Many startup people know the idea of an MVP, a minimum viable product. An MVP is a simplified version of a product built to test real market demand. That can be useful, but it still often requires engineering, launching, maintenance, and real operational effort. A sprint prototype is different. You are not building a full product. You are building the illusion of a product. A realistic version of the experience, just enough to test the most important assumptions. This could be a clickable app mockup, a landing page, a video, a storyboard, a fake dashboard, a sales pitch, a brochure, a service roleplay, a slide deck, a physical mockup, a customer journey simulation. The goal is not to fool people in a dishonest way. The goal is to create something concrete enough that customers can react naturally, because people respond better to something they can see and touch than to abstract descriptions. Ask someone, would you use an app that helps you manage your finances better? And you may get polite agreement. Show them a realistic prototype and watch what they click, ignore, question, misunderstand, or get excited about. That is where the truth appears. Before the sprint, assemble the right team. A sprint works because it brings the right people together for focused work. The authors recommend a small team, usually no more than 7 people. Small teams move faster, communicate better, and avoid the chaos of too many opinions. A good sprint team is cross-functional. You want people who understand the problem from different angles. Important roles may include the decider. This is the person who can make final decisions. Without a decider, the sprint can get stuck in endless debate. The decider does not need to dominate every conversation, but when the team reaches a fork in the road, someone must choose. Speed requires clear decision rights. The facilitator. This person runs the sprint process. They manage time, guide exercises, keep discussions focused, and make sure the team does not wander into endless conversation. A good facilitator is part coach, part referee, part gentle calendar dragon. The experts. These are people who understand the customer, technology, marketing, finance, operations, logistics, or business model. They provide context so the team does not design in a fantasy world. The troublemaker. This is not a villain. This is someone who challenges assumptions. Every team needs someone who can say, "Are we sure? Will customers actually care? What could go wrong? What are we ignoring?" Healthy skepticism makes the sprint stronger. The sprint setup. Protect the weak. A sprint needs real focus. That means the team blocks the calendar for 5 days and removes distractions. No regular meetings, no multitasking, no checking email every 5 minutes, no disappearing into side projects, no half attending with one eye on Slack. The process is intense, but not insane. The authors suggest a reasonable day, often around 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., with a proper break. The goal is not to exhaust people. The goal is to focus their energy. You need a room or shared workspace, whiteboards, sticky notes, markers, paper timer, snacks, clear schedule, full commitment. The sprint is short because urgency creates clarity. When people know they have only 5 days, they stop polishing and start deciding. Monday. Map the problem. Monday is about understanding the challenge and choosing the target. This is not the day to brainstorm wild solutions. Not yet. First, the team needs to slow down enough to understand what problem they are solving. The day begins with alignment. What is the long-term goal? What are we trying to make true in the future? What would success look like? What could cause this project to fail? These questions matter because teams often start building before they agree on what problem matters most. Then the team maps the customer journey. Who is the customer? What steps do they go through? Where do they struggle? Where does the solution fit? Which moment is most important to test? The map does not have to be perfect. It is a shared picture that helps everyone see the same challenge. Then the team talks to experts. People from inside the company share what they know. Customer complaints, technical risks, business constraints, market insights, past failures, support issues, sales objections. The goal is to collect knowledge quickly. By the end of Monday, the team chooses a specific target for the sprint. This is important. A sprint cannot solve everything. It must attack one clear piece of the problem. The Monday question is, What is the most important thing we need to learn this week? Tuesday, sketch solutions. Tuesday is about generating possible solutions, but the sprint does not rely on loud brainstorming. The authors are skeptical of traditional brainstorming because it often rewards the most confident voices, not the best ideas. Instead, sprint teams use structured individual thinking. Everyone works quietly to sketch ideas. This is powerful because it gives introverts, technical experts, designers, marketers, and leaders equal space to think. The team may begin by reviewing existing ideas. This can include competitors, old internal concepts, inspiring products, or useful patterns from other industries. Then each person creates solution sketches. These sketches do not need to be artistic, they just need to communicate an idea clearly. The purpose is not to impress people with drawing skills. The purpose is to make ideas visible. By the end of Tuesday, the wall is full of possible solutions. Not one big group compromise, many real options. The Lazy Capybara principle. Let every capybara bring its own coconut before deciding which one becomes soup. Wednesday. Decide. Wednesday is decision day. The team now has multiple solution sketches, but only one sprint week. They must choose what to prototype. This is where many teams normally collapse into debate. The sprint avoids that with a structured voting and decision process. First, the sketches are reviewed silently. This helps people judge the ideas instead of the person behind the idea. Then the team marks interesting parts with votes or notes. They discuss strengths, concerns, and patterns. Then the decider makes the final call. This is crucial. Consensus sounds nice, but it can slow teams down and dilute bold ideas. A sprint uses input from everyone, but it does not require everyone to agree. After choosing the winning idea or combination of ideas, the team creates a storyboard. The storyboard is like a comic strip of the customer experience. Scene by scene, it shows what the customer sees, does, reads, clicks, hears, or receives. The customer is the main character. This prevents the team from thinking only about features and forces them to think about experience. By the end of Wednesday, the team knows exactly what prototype they will build on Thursday. Thursday. Build the prototype. Thursday is prototype day. This is where the sprint becomes real. The team creates a realistic version of the solution, just convincing enough to test with customers on Friday. The authors call this a fake-it mindset, but again, not in an unethical way. It means you do not build the entire system behind the curtain. You only build what users need to experience. The prototype should feel real. Use real text, not placeholder text. Use realistic customer data. Use believable screens. Use proper flow. Use enough detail to create natural reactions, but do not overbuild. The prototype does not need to scale. It does not need perfect back-end systems. It does not need beautiful engineering. It does not need months of polish. It needs to answer the sprint question. The team divides roles. Someone writes copy. Someone creates screens. Someone prepares the interview script. Someone checks consistency. Someone assembles the prototype. Someone recruits or confirms test customers. The biggest danger on Thursday is perfectionism. The team may want to keep improving the prototype forever, but the deadline is what makes the sprint work. Good enough to learn is better than perfect too late. Friday. Test with customers. Friday is the moment of truth. The team interviews 5 target customers and watches them interact with the prototype. Why 5? The authors argue that 5 interviews can reveal the majority of the most important patterns, especially in a qualitative test. You do not need thousands of people to discover that users are confused, excited, bored, or blocked. The interview should be friendly and open. Start with general questions. Make the customer comfortable. Ask about their past behavior, not just opinions. Then show the prototype. Encourage honest reactions. Avoid defending the idea. Do not lead the customer toward the answer you want. A good interviewer is curious, not persuasive. Meanwhile, the rest of the team watches from another room or video feed. They take notes. They look for patterns. Where do customers get confused? What do they understand immediately? What excites them? What do they ignore? What questions do they ask? What do they misunderstand? Would they actually use this? What problem does it seem to solve for them? At the end of the day, the team reviews the evidence. Sometimes the answer is clear. The idea works. Sometimes it clearly fails. Often, the result is mixed, but still extremely useful. The sprint reveals what to improve, what to remove, what to rethink, and what to test next. Friday gives the team learning they could not get from internal debate. The real value of sprint: it replaces opinions with evidence. One of the deepest lessons of sprint is that teams waste huge amounts of time arguing from assumptions. The founder thinks customers want one thing. The designer thinks they need another. The engineer sees a technical risk. The marketer wants a sharper message. The executive wants something impressive. The customer support person knows users are confused. Everyone has a point, but opinions are not enough. A sprint allows the team to turn opinions into testable questions. Instead of asking, "Who is right?" the sprint asks, "What do customers do when they see it?" That shift changes the energy of a team. People become less attached to being right and more focused on learning fast. This is one of the most valuable cultural benefits of the sprint. It builds a learning organization. Why starting slowly helps you move faster. A counterintuitive lesson in the book is that the sprint starts slowly on purpose. Monday is not about rushing into solutions. It is about mapping, understanding, and choosing the right target. This feels slow to impatient teams, but it prevents wasted speed. If you sprint in the wrong direction, speed only makes you wrong faster. Alignment creates acceleration. Once the team understands the challenge, Tuesday through Friday move quickly because the foundation is clear. Slow down to aim, then move fast. Very wise. Very capybara, stretching before the race it did not want to run. How to apply sprint in real life. You do not need to be Google or a venture-backed startup to use this method. You can apply sprint thinking to many projects: new product ideas, website redesigns, course launches, service offers, sales pages, app features, customer onboarding, internal processes, marketing campaigns, community projects, content formats, business model tests. Here is a simplified way to use it. 1. Choose a high-stakes question. Do not sprint on tiny problems. Pick something important enough to deserve a week of focus. Ask, what decision are we afraid to make because we do not know what customers will think? That is a good sprint candidate. 2. Gather a small team. Bring the people who understand the customer, business, product, operations, and constraints. Keep the group small. Make sure there is one decider. 3. Block the calendar. A sprint does not work if everyone is half available. Protect the weak. Remove distractions. Create urgency. 4. Map before solving. Start with the customer journey and the long-term goal. Choose one target. 5. Sketch separately. Do not let the loudest person dominate the solution. Give everyone quiet time to create ideas. 6. Decide clearly. Use structured voting, but let the decider decide. Speed requires ownership. 7. Prototype realistically. Build just enough for customers to react. Do not build the whole machine. Build the front stage. 8. Test with 5 customers. Watch real behavior. Listen carefully. Look for patterns. Do not defend the idea. Learn from the reaction. The main takeaway. Sprint is not just a design book. It is a decision-making book. It teaches teams how to stop guessing, stop debating, stop overbuilding, and start learning from reality. The 5-day process is simple. Monday, map the problem. Tuesday, sketch solutions. Wednesday, decide what to test. Thursday, build a realistic prototype. Friday, test with real customers. In 1 week, a team can move from uncertainty to evidence. That is powerful because in business, the costliest mistakes often begin as untested assumptions. A sprint does not guarantee success, but it helps you fail faster, learn faster, and invest smarter. It protects your time, your money, and your team from months of building in the dark. Final reflection. The biggest danger for ambitious people is not lack of ideas. It is falling in love with ideas before reality has had a chance to speak. Sprint gives reality a microphone. It says, before you spend months building, test. Before you argue endlessly, prototype. Before you chase perfection, learn. Before you commit the whole team, watch customers respond. This is how smart teams move fast without being reckless. They do not guess louder. They learn sooner. So today, think about one idea you have been debating, delaying, or overthinking. Ask yourself, what is the smallest realistic prototype we could create to test this with real people? Then build it. Not perfectly, not forever, just enough to learn. Because the best way to know if an idea works is not to talk about it until everyone is tired. It is to place it gently in front of the customer and watch. And as always, stay calm, stay curious, and move like a lazy capybara with a 5-day plan and a very serious stack of sticky notes. Subscribe to the Lazy Capybaras for more calm, practical book summaries that help you build smarter, think clearer, and test your big ideas before they eat your calendar.